Welcome back to another episode of, what is it, Mr.Love, picking up where we left off. Oh, look at that, big clowns. What's this? Hey, we got something from Victor. Not that we know who he is yet. Oh wait, no, he's the CEO dude, huh? Okay, next part. Just landed the gig to do a bridal gown design competition featuring stellar designers to determine the best of the best. Well, our starting store isn't bad. So what I learned is that the first one and that bottom lineup between these, and there will be more, the first one is the one the game recommends. Soon we'll have more cards too. I didn't return to the office as planned. Instead, I got in a car heading to the Bioscience Research Center. The call on the road turned out to be from Uncle John. He is a biology professor at Loveland University and helped Miracle Finder many times as a guest expert. He's out of the country right now, but he called me to introduce another neuroscience professor to be our guest. This scientist works in Research Center and is also a professor at Loveland University. The whole point of Miracle Finder was to find superhumor and discover the science behind their powers. Hopefully this neuroscience expert will help me finish the last show. I grasped at the straw, however unreliable it may seem. Subconsciously, I felt the trip might change the fate of Basketball Catalina Company. Changed my fate even. Lucian Bioscience Research Center. If the receptionist was right, Professor Lucian works in this lab. Having a research center named after herself, he must be a very senior professor. I'll have to be on my best behavior. Just when I was going to knock, the door was pushed open and a young researcher walked out. Spotting me, he seemed surprised, but then he regained composure and nodded with a smile. He looked at me kindly but remotely, like he was inspecting a strange new being. The way he watched me made me feel a little uneasy. "Hello, I'm looking for Professor Lucian." Hearing the words, the young researcher seemed to be a little surprised.
"Lucian, what do you want with him?"
"I'm a producer from Basketball Catalina Company. Here's my card. I want to invite the professor to be our guest on the final show."
Miracle Finder. Oh, I've heard of that. Why do you want Mr. Lucian on your show?
Professor John recommended. He interrupted me.
I've seen your recent shows. Your choice of topics is somewhat problematic.
Looks like this guy isn't going to introduce me to Lucian. He really has an axe to grind about our show. I tried not to show anger. Thanks for your advice. Perhaps you don't know our show that well. I got a number. I got a number from Professor John. I think I'll call him myself. When I found the number Uncle John gave me and tapped the call button, a girl in white walked over. Hello, Professor Lucian. The young researcher nodded with a smile. The girl skipped happily away, but I was frozen in place. Then the ringing of the phone came from his lab coat pocket. I hung up the call and looked up. The young genius professor was still smiling, but I felt like I had become even happier.
Would you like to talk inside my office?
Lucian's office. Professor Lucian, I never imagined you'd be so young. I'm so sorry. I annoyedly made a mental note never judge people by their appearance.
It's all right. I didn't introduce myself.
Thanks. So let me tell you about the plan for the last show of Miracle Finder.
Yes, please. You can use my blackboard if you like.
Sure. I took a deep breath and started the introduction. For our final show, the themes we're going with is lives that can't be seen through.
I'm sorry, but I think this plan is not feasible.
What? I haven't even begun yet.
I viewed the files you gave me. Sisters?
But didn't you glance at them? Lucian, seemingly very smug, laughed out loud.
It's nothing. Let me explain the details.
He walked over to the blackboard very close to me. I felt a little nervous.
So, what's your view of superpowers?
Well, we believe in them. I think superpowers may really exist in this world. Suddenly, he looked into my eyes very earnestly.
Why do you think this?
Des Miracle Finder is a show about superpowers. I've seen many phenomena. Sometimes we fail to explain them scientifically. Perhaps superpowers do exist.
Have you heard of the Red Queen hypothesis?
No, what's that?
Now here, you see, it takes all the running you can do to keep in the same place.
Is that a quote from Alice Through the Looking Glass?
Humans have existed outside of natural selection for too long. They have forgotten how cruel the world is.
Huh? It sounds weird but true. In nature, humans have no more threats.
But it's dangerous when you forget to fear. Do you know the way to avoid danger?
Is there a way? Suddenly, Lucian drew close. I stepped back, inadvertently leaning against the blackboard. With one hand on the board, he drew in very close. The sunlight backlit and obscured his face. My heart beat like crazy.
When you're in danger.
He leaned in even closer to my ear and whispered,
Trust your instincts.
While I was still wondering what all that meant, this mysterious neuroscientist let me go.
Sorry. I didn't want any other people to overhear those words.
But it's just the two of us in the room.
What you cannot see isn't necessarily non-existent. Like a crisis lurking in the dark.
Oh, okay. I got it.
Back to your show. Since its subject is superpowers, you should have your own thoughts on the matter. However, your view on superpowers is still framed by your father's views. Am I right?
My father built Miracle Finder with his own hands, piece by piece.
Every show reflects the character, the color of its producer. However, I don't see any of your color in this. This is still the same episode plan as 2 years ago. Your color, it's very special. Unlike any other, at least to my eyes.
I'm starting to understand. Thank you, Professor Lucian. Lucien raises eyebrow in slight annoyance.
Are you leaving?
Yes, I have to return to prep the show with my colleagues.
Should I have lectured a little longer just then?
Huh?
It's fine. You can go now.
Professor Lucian, will you attend our last show? After I finish our new show plan, I'll come back and...
All right, I'm in.
What? What? Lucian smiled and patted my head.
I'm in. I hope I won't be disappointed.
Great, thank you, Professor.
Next time we meet, you can just call me Lucy.
I nodded shyly and then left his office. I think this is a paid thing. Yeah. I'm very nervous as tapping for the relaunch Miracle Finder is about to start. Luckily, I have Lucian's helping out. Uh-oh. I don't think we have enough stuff for this. Yeah, we're making a pass. Well, at least I tried.
There's one on the side.
We'll come back for that third star. Recording the final episode of Miracle Finder. With the help of my colleagues, I designed the theme, content, and run down the last show. Though I recorded several episodes of Miracle Finder, it's the first time I felt nervous. Anna, let's go through the program rundown once more. How many times have you checked today? But oh, alright. My dear, I've never rehearsed this many times. I can even remember everyone else's lines. Once more, you'll get a salary bump.
Just relax. I read the script. It's a good show.
Professor Lucian, you're here. Hearing the words Lucian seemed a little unhappy with me. Oh, Lucian.
Aren't you going to show me around?
Sure, I'll introduce you to everyone. This is the guest expert for the show. A distinguished scholar in neuroscience, Professor Lucian.
Hello, everyone.
The audience stared at the professor in silence, then a moment later broke into thunderous applause. Anne leaned in next to me. Where did you find such a handsome professor? This show is in the bag. The appearance of Lucian swept away the tension and unease on the set. Lucian, do you want to come on other future shows? I mean, if Basketball Catalina Company carries on.
Of course. If it's a program you're producing, I'd be happy to join.
The recording session was very smooth. Professor Lucian, what does neuroscience have to say about the seemingly miraculous art of mind reading?
Well, perhaps more precisely, we should call it brain reading.
Lucian quibbling over terminology makes the whole audience laugh.
Can consciousness be read? An interesting topic. One theory argues that everything in the world is interconnected.
The professor is something handsome, intelligent, and humorous. For a professor, Lucian's really down to earth. His humor and knowledge light up the set. He's really another person in front of the camera. Looking into the monitor, somehow I feel I don't really know this person. Dear audience, the show is near its end. Let's invite Professor Lucian to have the final word, please.
As our scientific understanding of humanity expands, the frontier of the unknown expands with it. Miracle Finder might end today, but the superpowers it discovered have transcended our age. Maybe someday in the future, the pace of science will catch up with this show. Every scientist, myself included, hopes to make a contribution in this field.
Obviously, Lucian garnered lots of fans for himself after the show ended. Instead of just leaving as usual, the audience crowded around the guest area. Even some of the staff joined them, holding autograph books. I was already late when I finally was able to escort Lucien out. I'm really thankful for what you did today.
The honor is mine. It's the first time I've ever been on a show. It was really interesting.
Thinking of what Lucien said on the show, I couldn't help recalling the accident that day. I kept telling myself it was a hallucination, but it all seemed too real. Lucien's so open to the idea of superpowers. Perhaps he knows something. Maybe I can ask Lucien about it and not be seen as a crazy person. Lucien, can I ask you something?
As long as I can help. Of course.
Have you ever heard of the term evolver? The question stopped him in his tracks. He still calmly looked over me.
Yes, I've heard of it.
Really?
So, where did you hear that word? I see. Thank you for trusting me and sharing this with me. I'm pleased. Evolver basically means a super evolved human. It's just an academic term for a superpowered being. It's said that 20 years ago, a British scientist dissected many superhumans and found a unique gene. He called the special ability expressed by this gene Evol. In other words, a superpower. And those who possess Evols are Evolvers.
He dissected a lot of them? Evolvers?
Does that scare you? Actually, the scientist was eventually sentenced to life imprisonment. Because they involved crimes against humanity, his research was deemed classified by the World Gene Organization.
Sounds inconceivable.
These are all just rumors I've picked up from working in bioscience. I don't have a clue about the details. Maybe the rumors are partly true, part fiction. Just like the superpowers on Miracle Finder.
Yeah, but other people have probably heard about it too and believe in it.
I am doing related research on this myself. Maybe one day I will find the truth behind it. If you find any real superhumans while making your show, they are more than welcome in my research center.
Oh?
What are you thinking? My research is all completely legal.
Couldn't help letting my imagination run wild. Occupational hazard. If that's the case, the strange man I met that day must believe in the existence of this Evil. And based on what he said, I must be one of these evolvers of legend. I have no idea what makes him think so, because I'm definitely just as normal as everybody else. I'm 22 years alive. Nothing inexplicable ever happens except those 2 car accidents. But even if what happened that day wasn't real, the story of Evolvers itself will make an extraordinary topic. I wonder if that man would have a different version of the story. If I could somehow meet that man again. Perhaps he's a real superhuman. You never know. We'll do this later. Well, that's it for this episode.